Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk call the roll?
For Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Mark Foley.
Here.
John Cameron.
Here.
Bobby Ball.
Here.
Maria Maspanet. Sean Holmes.
Here.
James Richard. Michael Navarro.
Here. Parks and Rec Board has a quorum.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Ford.
Present.
Councilmember Tremont.
Here.
Councilmember Stiltner. Still not here. Vice Mayor Bastian.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here. The City Council has a quorum. Item for discussion, the Rec Center. Jake, want to kick us off?
Yes, sir. This is a joint meeting to discuss the rec center. DJ Design came in with a design. I think Susan, Susan's going to brief what the results of the design were and some options and a little bit of direction from the joint Parks and Rec Board and Council on how we want to move forward and take care of the rec. It came in a little over budget, a little bigger based on citizen and staff and council and Parks and Rec input. So without further ado, Susan, if you want to brief where we are and where we need to go and how we're going to get there. Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Susan Law, Parks and Recreation Director. It's good to see everyone in person. It's been a while. Jake pretty much summarized it there for you, and it is in your agenda packet. So not too long ago, we all shared this room and we discussed ideas on what the rec could be. And one thing was clear at the very end, the consensus was, is that everybody thought that the design needed to be a little bit larger than what we originally designed. So we tasked DJ Design to go back and take a look at what the inputs were and come up with a design that would make it larger. Just to kind of give you a sense, it's almost twice the size of the original design. So with that said, there's budget, right? So DJ Design got together with his team and they did a construction estimate. It comes in around $3 million. We do have grant funding from Volusia Echo and we have match money that has already been budgeted. However, we are still at a $1.4 million shortfall. I also want to caution you, $1.4 million. I also want to caution you that things not included yet, of course, is some things you were just discussing. Staffing is not included. Some of the furnishings inside the building were not included. That is in our FY22 request for CIP, which was part of our plan from the very beginning. The staffing was included in that budget as well as some furnishings. We do have some additional funding we could go towards to complete the playground inside the building. And we're working with our grants manager to try and find some money for that, as well as community partnerships. We were hoping to get a start on that this year to start talking to our community partners, and then COVID hit. And as you know, it's kind of hard for us to go into a community where our businesses are hurting and start asking them to sponsor things that would go inside a building that's not quite built yet. However, I do have hope that we will be able to reach out to our community, our business community, and they have always been very gracious, and we hope that that will continue if things bounce back. Yes, Chase?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
I just want to make sure I had everything going forward. When you talk about staffing not included in this, furnishing not included, we're talking also about equipment, computers, basketballs, nets, everything else that would go into it. We're just talking about the skeleton and the structure of everything, appliances and all that, but then, because that can add up, obviously.
Sure.
I just want to have a picture.
Sure, and that's the balance. So none of the technology is in there quite yet. So the stuff that's going to be needed for the security cameras or video cameras throughout the building, our IT department is working on that budget. We'll be requesting that. I'm sure Jamie's here, but I'm sure they're going to request that in their FY22 budget also. Now, we do have some things, right? We do have equipment. We have basketballs, and we're budgeted for those types of items. And we do have some furniture. We do have some tables and chairs. However, the employees that are in this building now are going to be moving out. They're our athletic unit, and so they're going to be moving over to the Dorothy Huckel Center. And the staff that we have coming on board will come in and run this center, with the exception of 1 or 2 employees that we may be able to cross over. So we would need new computers, new desks, and those types of items. Now, I also don't want to disillusion, right? Parks and Rec, we are used to being creative, and we can reuse some things. We can sometimes buy things that aren't brand new, but are kind of new to us that will suffice. And again, we look for donations. So I don't want you to think that we're going in trying to outfit this place with all brand new, top technology, state-of-the-art, everything. I think eventually, in 10 years, we'd like to get there slowly, but we're not naive to the fact that that's just not possible right now. So we're going to do our best to see what we have, where we're going, what we need to outfit, what we can get, what's used, what can be reused. There's other departments in the city that offer things up a lot of times for furniture that maybe they don't need anymore. As we start repurposing City Hall, some of that might come available. So those are all the things we'll be looking for as we start going forward through this process. However, the good news, or bad news is we're $1.4 million short. The good news is my discussions with our finance department have indicated that we have plenty to cover this in our recreation impact fees. So we can use recreation impact fees for expansion. This will expand service. And then we're also anticipating additional impact fees coming in next year that community development has provided us. So the good news is I think we have a funding source. The bad news is that we had to find $1.4 million. So I guess the question to the council and the board to kind of discuss tonight is do you want to see us move forward with an increased $1.4 million budget? Do you want us to scale back the design to something in between of where we were in the beginning and where we're going now? Or do you want to put the project on hold for another year or so, which will have impacts to our ECHO money? We do have to start at least building phase 1 next year. So those are kind of the options out there. And of course, you know, we're always looking for additional grant money as we go forward. So that's kind of where we are. I'm looking for the direction tonight from you all. And also, as the manager stated earlier, we are going to need people to run this building. If there's any indication that we can't get new bodies to do it, it will be very difficult for us to open this building and activate it to what I think you expect us to do with the current personnel we have.
Susan, I think you identified a funding source that is highly appropriate. But before we commit any dollars or make any decisions, I think both boards, we need to talk about what we're going to talk about.
Yes, sir.
Talk about what we're getting.
Okay.
Question on, with things like these, you always want to, it's always a good area to not be a revenue generator, but have events that can bring in some revenue. If you use ECHO dollars, that prohibits us from doing those things, correct? We have tournaments, or what is the extent of that?
So all ECHO lets us know is we cannot charge differential fees for people outside of our community. So I can't charge a different fee if you live in the county than a resident of Port Orange. That's the stipulation of the ECHO. And there's some entry fee type items, but I believe it's the same price or good. I think that's what you're seeing at the boat ramps in Flagler Avenue, Park down in New Smyrna. They'll have the same price for everybody.
How much is the ECHO money that we would anticipate applying for?
So we've been approved for $800,000.
Is that part of the 1.4 million?
No, that's part of the first half that we had money for.
Councilman and Parks and Rec. As I understand it, we can apply for another maximum of $400,000 for this project next year.
So Amanda is looking into that.
That's right.
Because when we applied, we showed the phases. We had phase 1 and phase 2 of the building, which we anticipated costs. Again, this is 2 years ago, right? So costs change as we move forward. With that said, we would need to have a discussion with ECHO, which is something that Amanda is working on, to see about inflation costs and how can we ask for additional funding to finish a project that we have an estimate of $3 million.
That
We
being
don't have the
Amanda
answer.
Lasecki, our grants manager.
Correct, and we don't have the answer to that question yet.
Thank you.
Does ECHO, if you used all ECHO funds for the portion where Art House would go, but not for other parts of the building, would that enable you to charge a differential for non-Port Orange residents? You might want to look at that.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I know we applied. So I don't want everybody to think that Art House was the only stipulation in order to apply for ECHO, right? So the Parks and Rec will also do those types of programming. So if we were to just scale back and say we only want to use ECHO to build the Art House section, I think we've already applied for that, we've been granted the entire project, so we would have to then return grant money at that time, and I don't know what the implications of that are.
No, but I wouldn't say it's just Art House. I would rethink, I understand the county's stipulation or perspective that if they're giving money, it's for all residents, but I think they have unwittingly denied our ability to charge a cost differential for non-Port Orange residents. I think they're missing the fact that Port Orange taxpayers pay twice. We've paid for it in our county taxes, but we also are paying for it in our budget with Parks and Rec. And I think it's fair to think about the building as pieces where you're going to have sort of arty, whatever, and yoga, whatever. And that's all comers, you don't charge anything different. But let's suppose the basketball courts, if we say that portion is funded by Port Orange tax dollars alone, and that would enable us to pay or to require a different cost if you're a non-Port Orange resident. I'm just suggesting that may be something to kick back to them.
I think if we had applied for it that way, saying we need $400,000 for the Art House portion and $400,000 for this other portion, and that's going to be the part where we're not going to pay a different or charge a differential, but the rest of it is going to be a Port Orange only building. I don't know if it would have flown, but at least it would have been able to segregate that. The way we asked for it was for the entire rec. So we would have to give or otherwise resubmit for that money to segregate it, to be able to break up the rec into different spots of echo dollar places and non-echo dollar places. We could have tried it that way 2 years ago, but that's not how we did it.
Okay.
So that might be, and that's something to think about going forward as well with our echo dollars. If there's a way we can separate our project into a Port Orange only project and a countywide project, we should do that.
Jake, what are we getting for 1.4 million? Granted, I know some of that was costs elevating on some of the original design, but what have we added to get to that?
I think Susan's got some pictures here.
Yeah, so we also included pictures in the packet.
Yeah.
So again, when we started this project, we were right around 1.5 million, I think is where we were. And like I said, we've just about doubled the size of the original design, which, by the way, we used a lot of that when we applied for the ECHO. So what that is doing is it is providing. And I don't know, Dan, do you want to present do you want me to talk about it, or do you want to just start it? Okay. It's much more knowing what the square footage stuff is. If you start asking those questions, I'm going to turn it over to Dana. So basically, the Art House area is almost twice the size of the area that they currently have on Ridgewood Avenue. So it will include a studio, include offices, and some classroom space. And that's the portion you see there in that picture towards the front there. I don't know if you all have your computers to pull up the schematic. Pete can put it up, and I'll show you the Art House first floor. I just don't know, it's very tiny, I don't know if you'll be able to really tell from what it is, but I'll try and walk you through it.
It's hard to see it on record.
Yeah, it's very tiny. So on the second floor above Art House, we have classroom space and some offices. This is where the Police Athletic League will have an office and be able to have some space. Most of you probably know that the Police Athletic League does many of their programs in our gym. So it makes sense to have him in this building. It's more accessible to the public to be able to come in and register children for the PAL programs and those types of things than maybe at the PD. So, yes, sir?
He used to be in there. When did they move him?
We had to move him out when we received some additional staffing because we ran out of room. So they had to move him back over to the police department. And he's been over there now, I would say close to 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
And the chief was there, some chiefs here somewhere. So they'll have some area upstairs on that first floor, on that elevation facing the lake on the second floor. And then we have some additional classroom space that we can use to do some classes up there, or have meeting space for the public, or our clubs, and those types of things. On the first floor schematic that's showing, so it's basically from courts. So that is what you guys see right there, is that's court 1. So that was the old rubber court, which now is wooden, but that was the old rubber court. So that whole wing there is new. That's where we anticipate having a large, we called it a junior gym at first, but it was misleading. So it's a large room, activity room, that can be divided. That room will also have a caterer's kitchen off of it. That's where we anticipate birthday parties, classes, drama classes, things of that nature, mommy and me classes. The ceiling is high, is it?
No, that's the wrong, not that wing.
Am I seeing the wrong?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that one.
There you go, that way.
Okay.
So that room there that you see, that's the
Well, no,
second
down
floor.
first
First floor, Pete?
That's the second floor.
Pete's got it. Let's get to the right place.
Let them know it's not just me trying to read these things.
Okay, sorry. I can't really read what the words say from here, I'm just trying to guess it. Okay. So that large room is dividable, and on the back part of that, which backs up to the Y, is storage. So,
Hold on one second, guys, I can't see how the thing.
Go to 1.1.
Yeah, 31.
You don't have it up there at the top. No. This one? That one.
A 1.1.
Third one down, there you
Okay.
go. There you go.
So the area we're talking about now would be the area towards the skate park. So if that's the gym, court 1, what you see out in the front heads towards the parking lot. So we're talking about the large room there. So that is a, again, large activity room, multi-purpose. What we wanted to be very, very cautious of when designing this is that we didn't design any room for one specific purpose. We wanted to make sure that we could change with the trends and not lock ourselves or ask for major renovation projects when trends change, right? Anyone who's had children knows that those change about every 10 years. So we tried to make sure that we had space that we could make universal. That room has, I believe, 11-foot ceilings?
12 foot.
12-foot ceilings. So it gives us a little extra height to do maybe some extra activities. Some of the stuff the staff talks about, they have Fortnite where they do Nerf gun fights and things like that, that the extra high ceilings will allow them to do those types of activities. That's kind of some of the stuff that will happen in that room. As you come up to the top of the page to the right is access to the skate park. So one of the things that we thought was very, very important was that we would bring the children and adults utilizing the skate park through the rec for a lot of reasons. One, it helps us capture who is in the skate park. It helps us ensure that our policies and procedures out there are being followed. It provides safe storage for the kids in the afternoons to put their backpacks. Right now, they just throw them out in the grass, and sometimes when they come in and say, somebody took my backpack. So it's helping us make that more user-friendly. Plus, they'll have a shady area under the portico that they can go to get out of the sun. They'll have access to the snack machines, so they'll be able to get something to drink, and get into the air conditioning a little bit, especially during the summer months. As you come around to the front, in front of that court one there, that is the new lobby area. So we took what you see now is we have air handlers and offices, and we kind of expanded that out. So when you actually come into the rec, the first thing you'll see is the slide. So there will be a slide that comes from the second floor to the first floor. So kids will be able to either walk up the stairs and come down the slide, or if you're on the second floor, you can actually come down the slide to get to the first floor. And there will be an indoor playground. We get a lot of requests for indoor playgrounds. So we're trying to pull off an indoor playground in here, especially during our hot months where usually the small children, moms and dads with small children like to use that area. It will also be a bonus to our birthday party packages and things like that we plan on having. So when you come in, the lobby desk will be open aired. Now we are starting to think about that a little bit with COVID, right? So originally it's going to be these open air desks. Now we're thinking, oh gosh, how do we put something to bury our staff between that? We're working on it. There will be a lounge area for the kids to kind of sit around, snack machines. There will be some offices right there. And then there'll be lockers for the kids to be able to drop their stuff off after school and then go play in the rec center. And then as you go up to the second floor on this side, don't know if you guys remember the office that's in the second floor that has the view of both gyms.
Yeah.
So we decided to take that and make it a parent lounge. So if you have kids playing on both courts, you can actually sit and watch both sides of the gym at one time. And we would have places they can plug in their phones and kind of have a place they can sit and watch the kids and be able to see that. And in turn, it will also be used as a teen area during times when we're not having scheduled games. So the teens can have kind of a cool place to hang out, call their own. So that will be up in that area. In addition, we have a staff office. We have a conference room up there for staff to be able to utilize. And then we have like and that's where the slide will be. And then there's some other breakout rooms up there that we'll be able to do classes, jazzercise, those types of things in some smaller areas. Cards, bingo, whatever the need might be. In addition, we have 2 rooftop areas that we wanted to take advantage of. One overlooks the lake and one overlooks the skate park. Again, we think it's an area that we could rent out for small gatherings, birthday parties, things like that for a rooftop type setting to be able to see activities or the lake, or you might be having an engagement party.
So there's no truth to the rumor that we're moving the mayor's office over there.
Well,
Just saying.
that's what you wish.
I remember we discussed that, and I thought we removed that. I think we saw just how much more of a cost.
Well, I don't know that it's not finished, so it will be a rooftop with a different flooring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not covered, but it's space that we have. Now, like I said, tonight your discussion could be that we don't do that, pull that out. And Dana can probably give you a cost, well, I'll put him on the spot, but maybe some kind of estimate of what that might save us in construction. But it's space that we had. Originally, we were asked to square out the whole building and bring it all the way up, to the corners and make that indoor space, which would have been a lot more costly to us. So we were trying to cut back where we could, and that space is available. It's there, it would be available for that. In addition, we have additional storage for the PAL program. We have additional storage for us, which is very, very important, especially if we have to change rooms around a lot. We need places to put tables, chairs, stage equipment, decorations and supplies, and those types of things. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Again, Dana is here if you have any specific questions to the design. And we're, like I said, we're looking for direction tonight as to what the pleasure of the board and the council is and how you'd like us to proceed. Our schedule is to try and have this out, to bid in January with hopefully closing the rec down late April, early May to start construction. It's about a 9-month project. And we'd be opening in the first quarter of FY22. I know there was discussion tonight about the rec manager, and the rec manager is not solely for this building, but as you can see, we're going to add probably 4 to 5 new employees. Right now on the recreation side of the house, the deputy director manages all the staff. So that's the athletics side, that's the lake side, and his capacity, I really would like to be able to hand some of that off to a rec manager in order to allow him to do deputy director type duties. I understand if you can't fund that this year, we will make do, but it's going to have to happen here shortly. And it's important they get on early because they're the ones that are going to start with what are the programs going to be, what are the supplies we need. If I wait till October or November, which if we don't get a budget till October, I probably can't get me on until December, then we're behind the 8 ball and we're trying to open a facility and not have the correct staffing and materials and supplies we need. But again, I understand the position you're in, and we will work whatever parameters you set for us.
On design questions, why don't we go around the room just on design questions? Let's start with Parks and Rec. Mark?
Yes, the difference between what we started with and what this proposal is now, is that what's the square footage increase, and the unit we have now